going to destroy you. They're saying, because you exist. Because you exist, we're going to destroy you. And Netanyahu reminded President Obama of this in a very subtle way. As you may have noticed, when he was at the White House, he gave him a Purim present, a copy of the Book of Esther. Well, of course, the Book of Esther talks about ancient Persia's decree to wipe the Jewish people out entirely, and in that case, it was, you know, the emperor's wife makes him mad, and he gets rid of her, and he's looking for a new, young, beautiful woman, and God raises up this young Jewish woman to put on a lot of makeup and perfume and stuff, and she entices him, and you know the whole story. And through that, God brings deliverance for the Jewish people. So what's he going to do now? I'm not sure, but I am sure that Iran is not going to destroy Israel. That I am absolutely certain. But they are vowing to do so. They're moving their nuclear program to these underground facilities for Dolan. They are hardened bunkers that Israel would find very, very difficult to attack on its own. And yet, Netanyahu repeated while he was here in the States, what he said so many times, that I can't just sit back and wait until a country much larger than ours, building nuclear something, until it gets the capability of actually being able to wipe us out. He's said it even more strongly several times, I will not preside over the second half of the Holocaust. Just not going to sit there as a leader and allow this to happen. And it seems like President Obama, this last time, did get that message that he is absolutely serious about that, and you know that he has no other choice but to take action. My hope and prayers, I'm sure many of you think, is that we will help. And I say that having written a warning about the war in Iraq, and I realize how war-weary the American people are and how stretched our economy is and all of these things, and Afghanistan and all this going on. But, you know, here is a large country saying, we're going to destroy one of America's closest allies on earth, and we're going to have this nuclear capability that can do the same to our European allies and others, and eventually to the United States. Some believe they already have a ballistic capability to shoot over the North Pole and hit some of our northern cities. So it's a very serious matter, and I think we need to be in great prayer for our leaders over this. It's a difficult thing. If I were the president, I wouldn't want potential war during an election year and all of this either. But, you know, sometimes your enemy rises up against you, and you don't have a choice. But had I had a means of defense against these three guys, I would have used it, you know, because that's just life, you know. Sometimes you have no choice when something rises up against you. But he needs great prayer. But there's an interesting development you may have heard of, or you may not have. It hasn't been in the media much. But Netanyahu has been developing very close ties with the Muslim country of Azerbaijan, former Soviet Republic, just north of Iran. It's a moderate Muslim country in relative terms, and they don't like Iran. They have some oil disputes and some other things. They're not any more excited about a nuclear-armed Iran than Saudi Arabia is, or the other Arab countries. It was the Saudi king who last year dressed down Hillary Clinton for, you know, dithering on this. And basically he said to her, you guys either take this on, or, you know, the rest of us are going to have to do it. So this is an issue that they're all seeing as very, very serious and needs to be dealt with. But the latest report in Foreign Affairs magazine just came out yesterday is that the Azerbaijan government has given the IDF permission to use its Air Force bases to launch an attack against Iran. And the magazine article went on to say, well, the Obama administration is not real thrilled about this because they'd like to have a little bit more control over whether Israel does this or not, and that. But again, this is a matter, this is an existential question. This is a matter of life or death for Netanyahu and the other Israeli leaders, and they will have to do whatever they have to do. But I hope our country will at least help. Israel will at least not stand in the way at the very least. It will help them if they have to do this. As I said earlier, deliverance could come in some miraculous way. It could be, maybe the Iranians will see this is coming and stop the program. This is possible. I don't think it's unlikely at all, but it's possible. I say it's not likely because the same spirit that dwelt in Hitler is dwelling there. The whole Aryan idea comes from Iran. The word Iran is related to the word Aryan. And in the same spirit of superiority, and Shiite Islam is going to rule the world, and the 12th Imam is going to come, and they're going to bring this to the whole world and all this stuff. They believe this. They really sincerely believe these things. So they're not likely to yield. But it's going to be a very interesting year. I'm going to Israel next month, meaning in just a few weeks' time, and I'll be there through the summer, and I think it's very likely we're going to see some action, possibly with Syria, certainly very likely with Iran, and very dramatic days. I wished I could tell you tonight that the scenario in my second novel, The Lord's Return to the Mount of Olives, and bringing His good governance, magnificent governance to this earth, transformation of the earth, that was about to unfold. That was the next prophetic event on the time clock. I'd love to say that, but that's not what the evidence suggests, or the prophets say. The Antichrist must come first, these other things must come first, and I dare say the scenario in my first novel is the one about to unfold. But the Lord does reign. He's on His throne. He's watching over His people. And I've been saying it now for some years, that the God of Israel tells us in Isaiah 11 and many places, Jeremiah 30 through 33, many places, that He would in the last days bring the people of Israel back to the land of Israel to save them in the land. Zechariah 12, to save them in the land. Not to destroy them in the land, not to wipe them out. Yes, if Syria dumps chemical weapons in Tel Aviv, tens of thousands could be killed. That's a very real prospect. Yes, in Armageddon and all these things that are going to happen, people are going to be killed. But what are we told in Revelation? There will be an earthquake in Jerusalem when the two witnesses rise, and 7,000 people will be killed, it says. It gives us the number, 7,000. How many people are in Jerusalem today? 750,000. That means 1% would die in this earthquake. That's the sort of thing I think the scriptures are talking about. There will be casualties, but mostly the Lord will deliver His people. He's going to do it miraculously, like He did during the Gulf War, like He did during the 67 war, like He did during the 48 war. He's done so many times. He's aiming to show Himself to them, to reveal Himself to them, not to destroy them in that land. So Iran will not succeed. The God of Israel will succeed. He is God, not Allah, not the imams or all these people. So that's the hope I have as I go back. And you mentioned the people of Israel. I've never seen in the last few years, but especially the last couple of years, I have never seen, I've been there 31 years, the Jewish people in Israel more open to spiritual things, to what's in the scripture, more curious, more desperate. They're desperate. I've been sharing it for a few years now. The press conference I went to, the deputy defense minister was there, and this American journalist asked him, "Are you worried about this threat from Iran? This nuclear threat from Iran?" And he leaned over and he said, "Madam, no. We're just thrilled to think that we're about to be annihilated by Iran, Duh! I mean, of course they are. They're extremely worried. And those who don't know the Lord in particular are very, will their country survive? They're asking that question of themselves. And as a Palestinian friend of mine in the old city said, we didn't ask Iran to come and nuke us to save us. It's going to kill us too. They're worried too. So they are also more open than I've seen them. Not everybody, of course, but many are really seeking, are really open now. One friend of mine, Israeli friend of mine, we speak in Hebrew all the time. Now whenever I see him, he begins by asking me something about Ezekiel or whatever. He opens it up. When I first knew him 15 years ago, he didn't want to talk about these things. So God is working on their hearts. And through all of this pressure and all this trouble all around them, the fears that brings, they're also being literally forced to their knees. And so that's the good news. And keep on praying for Israel, and it's no other place on earth. I don't know how to work this. Get the time. We got to open it and close it and get. My hour is gone. Almost 2-3 minutes. But keep interceding for the shalom of Jerusalem, and I will never cease saying that when you pray for that, you're not praying for a peace process. You're not praying for the latest initiative to succeed, because it's not going to. We have the Palestinians backtracking on what they've already committed to. We have the Egyptians backtracking on what they've committed to. Jordan, that regime's going to fall, I believe, because Psalm 83 indicates that. They'll join in the war again against Israel. All this is what's happening in the natural. But the shalom, the wholeness, is what you're praying for. And that wholeness is only found in a right relationship between us and God, as I'm sure you all know, the God of Israel, the God of the universe, the Father of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He is the one who is God, and that is what brings wholeness. So that's what you're praying for. So keep on praying that. Pray as never before for Israel's leaders. They need it. They need great wisdom to know what to do and when to do it and how to do it. A suggestion that they have some hidden weapons that we'll find out about if all of this comes to fruition. It could be a very interesting thing. Pray for them.